Okay, we are live. Hello people, how are we all today? It is 1:20 a.m. and I don't quite feel like sleeping, but I do feel like a bit of a form check. So hello to our regular viewers. Now for those who didn't join me earlier, I did live stream a 3-hour shopping session. That was quite exhausting. I had been planning to do some training or shooting today, but instead I did some shopping. Why? Because the opportunity was there. But at the same time, I figured, well, I want to get my stuff sooner rather than later. And if you keep on putting off the shopping, you won't do it. I'm actually pretty excited about it. I've got some pretty exciting stuff coming in, not just the bow, but also mini bows coming in. So I am very much looking forward to this chance to be reinvigorated with archery. But of course, everything's about giving back. So I decided to end my night after the long live stream with a chance to look through some more form checks. We'll give a bit of time for people to join in the live chat. Hopefully this works well. I think it's on red bars, but I think we're going good at the moment. Let's see, red bars, red bars. All right, it's green right now, so it should be okay. So, what is happening right now? Well, what's happening is that we have a number of videos which have been submitted. For those who are just joining the live form checks, what we do in this live stream series is to look through various people who send in videos of their archery form, and we give feedback. And I normally do this once I receive, say, 3 or 4 different videos, and that way we can learn together. We can learn from each other. We can learn from me. We can learn from you. You can observe and give feedback as well. So we've got a few different videos coming up, some quick ones. I don't think this will be a very long live stream. It comes at a very ungodly time of day, but we'll see how we go. Green cordial, of course. That's today's archery juice. Okay, so let's have a quick look at one video which I have ready. So this one is a follow-up from the last form check which we did a couple of days ago. This is Bootsy. And Bootsy, for those who didn't watch the last video, I identified one of the things as the low draw that he had. So he drew quite low. He was using I think a 26 to 28 pound bow, and he was drawing quite low. Left-hander, drawing quite low. So we identified that that's perhaps something that could be improved, as he might be putting more pressure on his front shoulder. So he sent in this follow-up video, and we're gonna watch him shoot a few arrows, and we'll see something else which I think is quite an interesting habit. He was complaining about some soreness or inflammation in his drawing arm, and when you watch the way he shoots, you'll recognize why this might be a problem. And I think this problem is fairly common in beginners. So we'll watch this one first. Hello to our viewers, by the way, Shalasa and Morton, welcome. So let's have a look at Bootsy. This is his follow-up video. So he does a bit of talking, but let's see him do a few shots. So you see what I mean. Watch his drawing arm. So he's fixed, by the way. So before he used to start quite low. He drew to his chest and then drew upwards. And I felt that was perhaps an inefficient draw, and it put a bit of undue pressure on his front shoulder. But now that he's starting a little higher, I think this is looking quite decent. So his draw looks quite good to me. We'll watch the draw, but pay attention to his drawing arm. And you'll see what I mean by perhaps the inflammation problem which he might have. So this is a shot. So he starts at a probably mouth level. That's okay. I think a lot of archers, and especially the standard method used in Archery Australia, is to actually start even higher than that, like draw at nose level, eye level. So you might want to start a little higher. You don't have to. Again, like what I say is just general advice, or but specific to Archery Australia standard coaching method. You can always start a little lower, middle, but you might experiment just a little higher. Generally speaking, it is easier to start higher and then come down like this. If you start like low, you end up dragging yourself up. So a natural habit when you draw low is to lift your front shoulder to get to your anchor point, which isn't what you want to do. If you start middle, that's okay. It's more of a straight line pull. But a lot of techniques, and this isn't standard everywhere, but a very common thing that's taught is to start quite high, like eye level here, and then when you draw, you get down to your anchor point here, and you tend to feel your shoulder coming into place. Your scapula will pop out and come into place in the right place, in the right feeling. It's a bit easier this way, and I say this because when we watch the rest of the shot, we'll see what we mean. Hi Jeremy, by the way, and that's nice of you to join us. So this is the rest of the shot. So your anchors, and that's a pretty nice anchor there. I like that movement. So if we go from a slightly higher starting point, this is pretty good. And then he'll anchor. He tucks to his anchor point. This is a really nice anchor point now. Before he had a problem with drawing low and then not anchoring correctly. I think this is a pretty solid anchor for the potato quality that we have here. But this is a really nice anchor point. By the way, I should want to give a shout out to Bootsy here. He designed this target face. I'm not sure if I've used it in the video, but he actually designed this particular 9-spot target. What's unique about it is that he has gold spots in the gaps in between. He is trying to get this printed. I think with American Whitetail, the archery company, they print targets, and I think if you want to post a link to this, Bootsy, please do so. I don't have the link with me right now, but if you want to promote this, please do. It's actually a really nice target. I've got a few of these at the club, thanks to Bootsy, and these are really nice glossy targets with multiple use target centers. So this is quite nice. Anyway, so the line looks good. It's good so far. So nice anchor, nice line. This is almost picture perfect. I really like the way he's set up. Now, the part to improve on is the release. So what he's commentating on in this video is he's feeling soreness in his left shoulder, which is his drawing shoulder. It's a left-handed shooter, obviously. And when you watch the shot process, you'll see why this can be problematic. So everything up to this point looks good, but the release indicates something. This indicates that he is pulling through with his arm. This is the way the hand follows through is an indicator of everything which goes before that. And if the hand doesn't go the right way, then you're doing something wrong before this process. Everything here looks good. Nice line through the arrow. Elbows perfectly positioned. Good grip here. Elbows are looking really nice. But what's missing? It's back tension. This is not a back tension release. This is an arm release. When the hand flies this far backwards, that tends to indicate more use of the arm muscles rather than back tension to finish the shot. And we'll see this in every shot. So good focus. The hand kind of flings out. It's not a pluck. It's not a really bad shot. But I feel that the pressure on the arm, the shoulder, is there in each shot there. That wasn't too bad. That was a better shot, I think. But he is having problems with inflammation in his shoulder. So what does this mean? This means that if you were to squeeze the back muscles more, he will get more back tension, and therefore he should finish the shot with a push and a pull rather than pulling it through. You can see somewhat in the video that he comes in and then he rotates a bit and then he pulls back. This motion, when you see your hand flop back like this, often indicates, like I said before, a loss of back tension. A good back tension release when you're maximizing your back tension. When you pull back, you squeeze your back muscles together, and it's almost like a snap. So it comes out as again. This is the typical Newton's third law thing. Because you release this, your hand will naturally come backwards. So the dynamic release will normally show you coming back pretty clean, either behind your neck or straight past your ear. Again, don't try to do a follow through. It's not an active thing. The follow through is a consequence of your previous actions. But if you do this correctly with back tension, you will naturally, let's try again, so from the start, draw, anchor, and then squeeze back muscles. This is no bow, of course, you won't see the resistance, but this is perhaps the motion that's most applicable to a back tension release. So a squeeze of the back muscles, you feel the tension through your shoulders, and the hand will just drop back behind your ear, behind your neck. That's perhaps the more compact version of it. If the hand flings out over here, you're probably using this shoulder too much. And the pain, which I think you're describing, Bootsy, is a pain here. If this is getting a little aching, then it normally indicates that you're using the shoulder itself, the socket here, to finish the shot. If you're doing this, then you're using weaker muscles. You really need to look at getting your back tension in place, push and pull, or squeeze your back muscles together, your shoulders together, to finish that shot. And for a lot of people who have a problem with pulling through, imagine pushing through rather than pulling through. It's not necessarily the right correction, but it's a way to overcompensate for your error. So if you naturally pull too much, try to push more to balance out your back tension and your expansion. And that, I think, is what Bootsy needs to improve for this one. And that will address the shoulder problem, I think, over there. So that's our first video. We'll fly through this quite quickly because this will be a fairly short stream, I think. We've got a pretty low commentator count today. The second video is from Miguel. This is actually the video that we saw in, I think, episode 2 of the Coach Me series from World Archery. Back when I did my initial response to the World Archery series, the Coach Me series, I identified a few pros and cons, which the series might face as it matures and gets more people to submit. And the video which Miguel sent us, the one that we saw in episode 2 of Coach Me, was a slow motion video. And he sent me, apparently he sent in 3 different videos, and they used the slow motion one. So he sent me the real time one, and it actually showcases all the things I pointed out in the Coach Me live stream reaction. So we'll watch this and we'll give our thoughts. I think I've mentioned a few things already. I think I largely agree with the comments made by the pro shooters. That's Seth Vandenberg, Lisa Undra, and who's the third one? It was Crispin. Yeah, it was Crispin Dunas. So they mentioned a few things about this video. So we'll get it ready. This is from Miguel. So we'll watch Miguel shoot, and this is the real time one. And we'll see why having a real time footage is actually quite helpful. Okay, that's the first shot. So the thing to watch out for when we're looking at slow motion, which is the point I originally made in the first video, is that slow motion sometimes misleads the observer as to what the person is intending to do. It's a bit too intentional, hence why like VAR in the World Cup right now, it's a little controversial because everything looks like an intentional mistake of some sort. So by having it real speed, you can see that a lot of things that he's doing may be subconscious or unintentional rather than a purposeful slow motion shot where we see things a bit too clearly. So he's done 2 shots, so we'll see the process for each one. And again, if you want to see the professional feedback, do watch episode 2 of World Archery's Coach Me series. You get the pro advice. Well, this is my point of view. So one of the things which the pros mentioned, which I agree with right away, is the knuckles on the hand here. This is a common thing with beginning archers, and in fact one of the frustrating things with archers who are starting out and the arrow keeps coming off the string. Now, as the pros mentioned, he does address this by the time it reaches full draw. So when it reaches full draw, the hand flattens. But in the previous few frames, so I mean, I could do left and right, but that's 5 seconds. I like clicking rather than using hotkeys, but where were we? So this point here, I feel could be something which could be ironed out or literally flattened out. By having knuckles in the hand, there's too much tension, and that means you're applying a very distinct directional force on the string, so that when the fingers come off the string, it'll curl the string away, and it's actually going to impart more sideways motion in the arrow. So this is actually an undesirable start. So one of the general things I've said to a lot of people would be watch for your knuckles, okay? So you don't want to draw with knuckles in your hand. Again, the pros say this, the coaches, every coach should teach you archery, should be telling you to watch this sort of thing here. You want to see a flat hand, so that if you have any tension in the hand, it's the back of the hand. The back of the hand stays flat all the way through the entire shot process. By having knuckles, you're basically clenching your fist, and that's gonna put tension in the wrong parts of the hand, and your release will naturally pluck. Again, we see with Miguel, he fixes that problem by the time he draws the bow, so that's actually not a problem, but do be wary of the knuckles. That's not a good starting point. You want to make sure that all your parts of your shot process are correctly in place before you begin the draw. If you have to fix things during the draw, then that's going to cause you problems because there are more complicated things which will stuff up in your shot process. And we see this a bit more as in the rest of the shot as we play this out. So first thing there is knuckles. That's fixed up. The grip was pretty good there, nice and relaxed. There's no grip there. Knuckles are nicely aligned. Elbow's fairly good, and drawing is good. So the draw is quite strong. Let's hotkey back. So the draw itself is quite strong. So we'll see here. I feel the draw is strong. Either that or he's using a very good draw weight for himself. Now, what is a little odd here is the way he has to fix everything up. Now, again, when you're learning, this is actually a good thing to do, is to make sure everything is well aligned. And he's shooting at a level target, so his shoulders are nicely in place. A lot of problems we see with our beginners, or the people submitting form checks, is that they will shoot at a lower target, and that causes the shoulders to come out of line. But in this case, he's shooting at a level target, the shoulders are nicely in line, and the shot itself is fairly decent. So you see just squeezing through. We'll play that back very quickly. He's just squeezing through. I think he's using a clicker there. I think it goes off. Didn't see that, but yeah, I think the shot itself is pretty strong. It's a nice shot, nice follow through, good line on the shoulders there. So the thing which Miguel would probably want to look at more carefully is how he sets up. Have more confidence in the setup there. When you see all these small twitches and micro adjustments, you kind of want to get it right before you draw, because a long draw is undesirable. The big thing here is when he pulls back to full draw, that's his full draw. He's not anchoring, but it's at full draw, and he hasn't transferred the weight to his back muscle. He's still holding it, so the draw is still happening, but it should be finished. All right, so you have around 2.5 seconds to 3 seconds to complete this shot at full draw. But unfortunately, Miguel is still at a point where he hasn't yet anchored yet. So if you count the seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's about an 8.5 second hold time. And I'm counting from the moment he reaches full draw. The moment he hits he draws here, he's under maximum tension. So any adjustment here is going to fatigue you. It's going to make the shot less strong because you're getting more weary, and additionally, overall, you'll get more tired quicker. And you can see even at this point, he's kind of straining. He has nice control, but that's one thing to watch out for. Is try to get this right before you start the draw. So a lot of people, I'll show you when you should do this. So, not yet. Oh, okay. Well, you should have a pre-draw. Alright, so he doesn't pre-draw here. This is something a lot of people don't do in the shot process, is pre-draw. So what you need to do is to pre-draw. So I'm going to grab my bow. I'll use my long bow, or the flat bow for now. Just to talk through this, okay? So a lot of people don't do this. A lot of people just straight to the shot. So what people should think about is to include a point in your shot process where you have a pre-draw. What that means is you actually you stand, you have your stance correct, and you get everything lined up, and you put some tension on the string here, and then you come up, and then you come to your full draw. So that's what you want to do, is you want to make sure everything's right. Your shoulders are right here. You have your elbow in the right position. The grip's correct. I'm using the wrong bow, but you see the point here. The grip's correct. You have your grip correct here. And then this is where you go, okay, so we'll put some tension on the string. and you start feeling some of the tension in your back and your shoulders, and then you can continue the rest of the shot. When you're ready, you then go up and then do the rest of the shot. That's kind of the process you want to include, and that is to make sure you have a pre-draw. Pre-draw, you add some tension to the string, and then you do the rest of the shot. If you go straight into the shot, you find, as Miguel is finding, is that he is not addressing the parts of his form until after he's pulled the string back. And that's a bit too late to fix things. Try to fix things here before you start. So this is where you should have some tension. Feel it right in the shoulders, feel it right in the arms. Sorry. And then start the draw. What he does is he draws, and then he manually checks. He checks the length away from his clicker there. So you can see his eyes are focusing on the point of the arrow. And then he looks at the target. And then he's checking the length again. And he's drawing while checking the clicker. And then he clicks. So he does 2 clicker checks. It's not abnormal to check the clicker distance. A lot of shooters will do this. I believe it's part of the KSL shot cycle. But you only check it once, if at all. Really, what you should be focusing on would be the target. So everything should feel right. You focus on the target ahead of you, and you let everything fall into place. If you have to manually check things, you're consciously paying attention to everything, and you lose the flow of your shot. I think that's the general feedback I get from Miguel. So the rest of the shot is looking pretty good here. I don't think there's any problems with actual shooting, but the setup is he needs more confidence to set up. So like I said before, make sure everything is right, get in there and pull it through. So at this point, if he's confident in his shot process, he should be shooting by now. So if you start the draw here, I'll let you know the timing, okay? He draws, anchors, expands, and then releases. So that's the timing. At this point, he starts at what, 0.48 seconds. At 0.54, about 4 to 5 seconds in, that's when the shot ideally should be in and finished. Instead, he takes a bit more time to get into his anchor point, and then he expands and finishes about 4 seconds later. So it's taken twice as long as he needs to. And I think that's what he needs to clean up in his shot process. And this is mentioned in that Coach Me series. I'm doing this in a bit more detail to explain why it's very important. I made a comment in chat before there. The long sleeve shirt should actually not be a problem. You can't see how his bow arm moves. You don't need to. You can normally tell when the bow arm is rotated incorrectly. And the short, you don't need a short sleeve shirt to see this. Nothing wrong with this particularly. Oh, Henry, you better the Type 90 for Warthunder. Yeah, the Type 90 is one of the best tanks right now. So sure, it's a very good vehicle. Good luck with the repair cost though, and the rest of the Japanese tanks. But it's an excellent tank. So that's Miguel's feedback. So that's number 2. So that's 2 out of 4. And again, this is a pretty late night video for me at least. So it seems to be a fairly quick sequence. The next one comes from who sent me? I'm gonna check who sent this one to me. This is a video. I've got one from Ian, which we'll see later. This one is from. I'm not actually sure what this is from. Sorry guys. It says here we've got. It's from. Who's it from? From Mark. Of course, there's Mark right there. So Mark, here we go. Let's have a look at Mark. All right. 2 shots. Okay. All right. Sorry. Okay. This looks pretty good to analyze. I think we can spot a few things. Not using a clicker, I think. I'm assuming that's fine. If you are, do let me know. I think you're not using a clicker. So we'll focus on this first shot because this is the most telling one. So let's go for that. There are a lot of things to kind of look at. So, I always like looking at stance, making sure the base is there first. So he's using a very open stance. This is a bit more open than what most people do. Now, if this is okay for you and you feel comfortable, keep it the way it is. You might want to close it just a bit here. I'm just nitpicking. You might find it a bit more comfortable to shoot with a slightly more closed stance. But again, a lot of pro shooters will do this anyway. So whatever's comfortable for you, go for it. Just do bear in mind that the more you open your stance, the more you rotate your torso, and you don't want to misalign your hips. If you find the rotation's a bit hard, then you might want to close your stance. Having a more square stance makes it easier to get your shoulders in line. Because you basically, I'm going to demonstrate this to you. So what you need to watch out for. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of crime mysteries and forensic files. I've been binge watching that on my school holidays. So what you need to watch out for is I'm sitting down right now, but you can imagine if I'm square, I can align my shoulders much easier. Whereas if I'm using a very open stance, not only do I have to reach my anchor point, but then also twist my torso a lot more to get the same amount of stretch. So if you're too open, a good example, you can do this too, by the way, is just like address your target face forward. This is almost like the Korean style of archery, like the traditional Korean style, where you have to use the core muscles to get that activation. It's a lot of strain. And if you find yourself straining too much to get to your full draw, then you might want to consider closing your stance. That's actually one way to address that issue, and it is an issue you might face. So we can't see if there's a lot of that, but what we do see is we don't really see a lot of back tension, and I think that may be related to the stance. I think the stance being open means that Mark is reaching his full draw, but is not engaging his back muscles as strongly because he has to strain a bit more. You can see his torso twist with his t-shirt as well. You can see that I don't feel he's engaging his back muscles enough. Nice pause, by the way. We actually got right on the release there. So the second part is the follow through. So it's kind of a static or dead release. And what that indicates is a loss of back tension. And you see he collapses a bit on the shot too. If you slow it down to, say, quarter speed, we'll see this a bit more clearly. So we'll go through this whole shot process. So he draws, looking good so far. Get to his anchor point. I feel he might want to... I can't see the contact point to know him. There might be nose contact. I think the head up. He does put the head up slightly, so he tilts his head. He kind of puts it back down. I feel he could have put his head down a little lower. Generally speaking, you want to keep your head down rather than head up, and that will put more contact on the string. Yeah, the anchor's okay, but I feel the head's a little too far tilted back. But more importantly, watch the creep. So he kind of, yeah. This shows me there's no clicker, by the way. So he does creep forward. So it often can be a draw weight issue, but more often it's a back tension issue. So he does creep forward very slightly. See the second shot. So let's look at this. So he comes in. You can see very slightly there's a collapse. You see this in the loop. You can see that instead of the shoulders or pushing together and the chest expanding and therefore the hands are coming apart, the hands are actually coming back together in the shot process. You can see anchor, and then instead of having this squeeze back, it actually moves forward. So he's collapsing the shot. It's a very subtle thing, but it's a collapse. And you can tell by the position of the hand at the release. So the follow through again will indicate what needs to be fixed. So with a strong back tension that keeps on going through the entire shot, the hand will naturally come back behind the ear. If the hand finishes basically at the cheek, that means the shot's collapsed. Yeah, and that's fairly indicative of what needs to be done. So we'll go back to full speed. And we'll see this in normal speed, and this is why it's a very clear error improvement. The wrist looks fine. Grip's okay. You could rotate this arm a bit more. Something to get used to over time, but that might be something you might consider. Let's go back a bit. Sorry. So full draw. Yeah. So the shot happens, and we need a bit more follow through reaction and reflection. So the way to think about this is to pull it through. So you come up, and then you reach your full draw, and you squeeze your back muscles. Feel the line in your back. Back is very important in this case. So feel the line in your back. You reach your full draw, and then squeeze, and then release at the peak of that tension. And when you do that, you should feel this follow through. You don't have to do this consciously. I keep saying this. Don't try to do this, but squeeze through, shoot, and then you should have this moment where you go, okay, I should have felt tension in my back on release, and I should feel a certain kind of like feedback over here somewhere, for example. Okay, so these elements are parts of a good shot process. If you find yourself flopping here, then you haven't used enough back tension in your shot process. So keep reminding yourself to push through the shot, power through the shot. You need strength in the shot to make it work. If you allow yourself to relax too much, if you pull forwards, and the release will be a little limp. That, I think, is your main point of improvement, Mark. So thank you for sending it in. I think there's some questions in chat right now. What was the question before that, by the way? Yeah, there's no transfer follow through. That's correct, Morton. Sartak, what should we do if archery is too costly for you? Archery doesn't have to be expensive, but you do need to invest some money to start archery. You don't have to buy a lot of things, nor do you have to buy expensive things. You can buy a fairly good bow for less than $100 US. If you don't have $100 US, you may want to postpone your archery dreams. You may be able to visit an archery range and shoot there for a bit, and that can cost a lot less than buying a bow. But I would not really recommend investing in archery gear if you can't afford it. And I want to share a story with you. Actually, I'm going to put a pause in this form check because this is a question I want to address right now. The story I want to share with you is from Reddit, and this was posted a few days ago. I think yesterday it was posted. Reddit now. Here we go. I want to share this with you because this is sad. It's common, unfortunately, but it's sad. So, what I want to show you is this anecdote from IRL Ranger. So, this is the anecdote to share. The topic is destroyed a little girl's dreams and efforts yesterday at an archery shop. The short version is there's a 10-year-old girl who came to the range, and she had saved up like 7 months of. She saved up 7 months of her allowance since last December to buy $100 bow from eBay. It's a 35-pound bow which she can't actually use, and that's the story here. So she saved up. I mean, this is kid stuff, right? So I mean, kids will save up for what they really want to do. For a kid to save up for archery, that's amazing. You know, like you don't really expect kids to save for archery. What do kids save for? You know, new dresses, toys, video games. That's what kids save for. So when a child saves because they're obsessed with buying a bow and they buy a bow, that's great. Except in this case, the bow was something that neither she nor her parents knew about. They bought something they found was pretty off eBay, and unfortunately they bought the wrong equipment. That's 7 months of saving for a child to buy a bow. And to see that you can't use it is heartbreaking. That's true. We try to teach people and inform people, but that happens. Now, back to the point for Sartak. if you find archery is too costly for you, as much as I don't want to say don't do archery, because everyone should try archery. It's a sport which is accessible. It isn't too expensive. But if you are scraping, if your money is that low, where you can't buy even a cheap bow off eBay, even a decent one, that's 80 US dollars or 100 US dollars, then maybe prioritize. Save up money or think of other ways to get money before you invest in the sport. You don't, like I said, you don't have to spend money, like lots of money. In my last shopping live stream, I spent like 2,000 US. I haven't bought the stuff yet, by the way. I've ordered it, but I'm trying to get shipping rates. I've got a quote happening. But I'm spending about 2,000 Australian dollars or like 1,500 US dollars to buy gear. That's excessive for what most people need. But you need to be realistic in what you can afford. Oh, Rocket Fist. Yeah, that's it's sad. Yeah, that's one of the things which kind of get to us instructors. Might be one of my top 10 things. I might make a new top 10 list for like instructor kind of groans, actual instructor complaints. So I might think about that. But yeah, when people already buy a bow or they've bought their kids. Oh no! You just reminded me of all my bad stories. Yeah, when the parents, when the kids buy themselves a bow, or when the parents buy the kid a bow. Oh no! Oh no! Yeah, Rocket Fist, you are so right there. That's sad. That's tragic. Oh, oh man, that is so tragic. Just because you don't want to tell them they can't use the bow, but they physically can't use the bow. The bows are either too bad, the things are mismatched, or they physically can't use it. It's too heavy for them. Yeah, exactly, James. Especially with compound bows, like I've seen people buy like like the toe point compound bows and bring them in, and they think, oh yeah, 40 pound bow will go into it. They can't actually pull it back, and they can't shoot it, so they don't use it. It's a waste of money, but it just feels bad. Like you just don't want to tell people you can't use it. So yeah, that's one of the frustrations of being an instructor at a club is when people bring a bow. Even adults do this. Adults might buy a bow for a low price, and they can't use it because it's too heavy. And they force themselves to. They have no form. They risk injury, and a lot of them will find it very hard to not use the bow. I think it's actually quite credible when someone like they see a good deal, and they buy the bow and they want to learn how to use it, and they're willing to use a club bow or low draw weight to train up to the point where they can use that bow. I think that's what I find quite impressive. Is when people have that discipline and self-control. It's the people who are compulsive buyers, and then they can't let go of that ego or that pride because they don't want to admit that they bought the wrong gear. That's, I think, is the hard part, and you got to break that. Do I have any experience with Korean horsebows? Yes, I do actually. I haven't shot one. Actually, I have shot one once. My first horsebow I shot was a Korean horsebow, which one of my fellow archers allowed me to use. I don't have one right now, but I have shot a Korean bow once. With the proper Korean technique, which you showed me, which I didn't do very well because I didn't shoot thumb draw back then. But I was learning, so I've done it once. Yeah, interesting. Kitsen and Hong Kong, only doctors could afford bows. Yeah, absolutely right there. Rocket Fist. I have a kid who has adopted me, whose parents bought him the same bow as me, which is about 5 years short of being able to use. These are painful stories. I'm actually similar too because I have some juniors at my club who watch me. Like I've got a generation of new archers at the club who are like NUSensei archers. I'm not sure, but if you're at a club, by the way, I'm not sure if there's such a thing as the new effect, where people join the club or try archery or stay with archery because of what I provide. I'm really blind as to how much impact I have at club level. I've got a small club, but more and more people are joining because of me, and I'm seeing more of the direct impact. I've got an outreach of thousands, so I'm not sure exactly how many people are actually doing archery because of me. I'm curious if there is such an effect. Anyway, back to the point. The thing that I was talking about was I'm getting some people who want to be like me. Because I've seen my live streams, I've seen me shoot, and I think I'm really cool, and they want to buy like my bow or the same kind of gear. And for the same problems too. Like these are people who want the immediate like results, but don't have the patience to put the hard work in over a long period of time. To you have to earn this. You have to work your way up to using more advanced gear, but you have to earn it. You can't just like jump in, buy a bow, and become good. The new effect is a perfume. All right. MBS. You're thinking of buying a Korean bow? Yeah, no, buy the bow. If you want to get a pretty good bow, that's a good starting point for Korean bows. The KO bows. I think the KO Windstorm or the Firefox. Is that what it's called? But yeah, the Korean bow, the fiberglass bows are quite good for starting off. You don't necessarily want a wooden bow, but the fiberglass bows are very good quality bows, and they're much more durable than the actual traditional wooden bows. Um, is there a bend at the end of my arrow where my knock goes on? No, it should be straight. Knocks either are inserted into the knock or they're placed on the outside. Sorry, the knocks are either inserted into the back of the shaft or they are placed over the shaft. There's no bend in the shaft to put the knock. The Firefox is awesome. Yeah, like these bows are kind of very modern sporty. They're kind of blue and red and stuff, so it's a bit different from a traditional bow. You want a horn bow? Okay, now we're getting some serious Korean bow stuff here. So I might leave it a different time, but that's some serious stuff you might want to research. But for your first bow, you might want to look at a fiberglass one instead. So that's the form check from Mark. So we've got 3 at the moment. Yeah, let's go to our last one that's been booked so far. And if you want to send anything in the last minute, go for it. But otherwise, it will be a very short live stream. So the last one comes from Ian. He just sent it like a few hours ago. So hopefully Ian gets this. I've seen him shoot for a bit. So let's see Ian have a shot with his bow. I believe that is the two-tone NUSensei CXT. You kind of recognize your own bow sometimes. So I noticed one of my friends actually when we started, there were 3 of us who started archery together. And ironically, the one guy in our group of 3 who spent the most on a bow, he bought a Win NUSensei CXT. He shot it like twice and he never shot it again. The biggest waste of money I've seen. Wish I could buy his bow, but I've got my own CXT now, so it doesn't matter. Yes, good memories of starting out. Okay, so Ian has one challenge that he's shooting on a low target. Fair enough. So you need to watch out for his shoulder alignment. And so ideally, keep the target level so your shoulders stay level. If you're shooting lower, you do have to watch out for your shoulder coming out of alignment. That's one thing to keep in mind. Otherwise, this is the rest of your shot. Yeah, that's going to be a challenge. He keeps things fairly in line. Let's see where the line goes. So he anchors, and then he adjusts. So the line is good. So the arrow line, the arm line is good. Elbow is the good height. And the shoulders aren't too far out of place. That's looking alright. A little tough sometimes, but that's pretty good. When I mean tough, I mean it can be hard to maintain the right shoulder alignment when you're shooting a low target. More often people will bend at the waist and maintain shoulder alignment. You can drop the shoulder a bit. This is as long as the shoulder doesn't come up. So as long as you correctly drop the shoulder, that's not too bad. If this starts pushing upwards and the shoulder rises, that's problematic. That's okay. And this is actually looking pretty good. That's okay actually. So you can tell he's using clicker. You can't see it from here. We have to clicker on, and he's really pushing through. It's a little deceptive, just because he's angling downwards. It's a little deceptive to watch how it is any off center shot. But the anchor's strong. You can see the contact is very strong there. It's got a consistent point there. It's got the nose on the string. This is looking quite good. It's looking quite good. Now, there's probably... I'll probably watch out for the release a bit here. And this is, again, a follow-through thing. That, I think, is a little excessive in movement. I'm nitpicking. This isn't a huge problem, Ian, so you don't worry about it too much. But what the follow-through might indicate is whether you're using your back muscles to finish the shot or whether you're pulling through with your hand. That's what I'd probably question mark over. I'm not saying you're doing it the wrong way, but it's something you might want to note for yourself. Give me a full draw. A slight collapse, that's okay. You're working with the draw of the bow. So the motion is good. So it pulls through really nicely. It's not collapsing much. A bit of shake, that's normal, that's fine. As long as the actual shot is clean. That I think is okay. So at least, I mean, the fundamental thing is the line is pretty good. The squeeze is happening. The shot is a strong, clean shot. And it's not too bad. Just work on smoothing out the expansion. Like keep the shot going in one direction. Continuous motion is the key here. I feel this is a bit too much. So if you're pulling with your hand to finish the shot, just be wary of that. I mean, that alone isn't a bad thing, but it's a bit unusual as a follow through. Normally follow through is a bit more clean, but as long as you are using the right muscles, that's fine. I find some people find it easier to finish the shot correctly when they over exaggerate the follow through, and that's okay as well. It's kind of like a second anchor sort of thing. So as long as you're doing it correctly, I'm not going to nitpick on that. Otherwise, looking alright. Looking alright. I think you've got a pretty clean process in. Just watch the use of your drawing hand to expand or release the shot. Try to focus on the back muscle alignment. Shoulders are good here. Is that a little hunch? So I think this shot is perhaps not as expanded, but I think this shot over here is a bit more loose. So what I noticed was maybe you're cramping a bit. This is your third or fourth shot in the sequence. Perhaps you're getting a little fatigued from this set, and I feel perhaps that your arm isn't coming back as much. So your release is a little more plucky, I guess you can say that. Whereas the other shots in the sequence, I feel you've got a bit more expansion going through here. So I think you've got a better job at the alignment here. So the elbow is a bit further back. Whereas with this shot, I can't compare side by side. I've got a feeling that this one's a little in. Just it's off the cameras, can't be sure. This might be a little more compressed. And as a result, if you see both shots, this one here is stronger. There's more expansion, more line, more power in the shot. And it's a more intentional follow through. Whereas this one over here, I think is a little looser. So I think it's a little more chicken winged. And then the release is a bit more of a pluck. And I feel it's a bit looser. So yeah, these are very small to nitpick. And this is the last shot set. Is he getting tired? That's actually alright. So it might be a one-off. Comes through a little loose there, but apart from that, it's a clean line. I think the motion is correct, and I think what Ian is doing is basically like 90% of the way there. So I think he's doing quite well in that process. Yeah, that is my general feedback to our submitters, like contributors today. What do we think, people? What do we think? Ethan, I recommend looking at the SPTs. Search up Archery SPTs, and you'll find out what exercise is probably most effective for doing archery, working your archery muscles. Yeah, I agree. Kitten should be tilting the hips. Ideally, you're shooting at a lower target. Bend at the waist. So your hips are your pivot point. You bend, so you come into line. I feel I say this in every live form check because everyone does this. Understandably, when you're shooting at home, you can't shoot at a high target, so you shoot at a low target. So when you do that, you have to make sure that you level your shoulders, but you bend at your waist, and that way you maintain your shoulder alignment, rather than popping one down and one up, or this one up and that one up. So it's more preferable to do it this way rather than to do it this way. So that's dropping the shoulder. This is pivoting at the waist. Different things. I do this every single time in every live stream. I'm a little teapot. Okay. What else do I have to say here? Talk about Korean bows. Yeah, that's cool. That's one bow I haven't used yet. I've used one. I haven't owned a Korean bow, nor do I have a Yumi. So those are things I might want to own one day. James, fletching and chill. Yeah, oh, it happens. I think I've done it. I mean, actually no, I haven't screwed my fletching while live streaming because I use some spin wings, so they're all one color. They all come around. Yeah, Korean archery shoots at 100 meter plus. It's 114 meters, I think, for Korean archery. Very impressive. Very impressive. Okay, it's a short stream, by the way, which is absolutely cool. Okay, yeah, short live stream, guys. I've cleared the backlog. That's quite important to make sure that when people submit things, they try to get things done on time. So this will be, how long is this live? This is a short one. It's only, okay, that's not bad. It's only 15 minutes. Okay, well, I reckon we'll end it there. I think it's a pretty quiet time to live stream, so you're not going to see a lot of chat. Also, of course, if you haven't already seen my other live stream today, that was the 145 meters. Thank you. Check out the shopping live stream. I'm surprised we've got like 1,000 people watching the live stream for some reason. But I actually did buy a string from scratch, so there you go. A bow from scratch. Anyway, I reckon we'll end it there. It is currently 2:15 a.m. I reckon that's enough there. Thank you for those who are joining me in this very late stream. This probably isn't a normal time period for most of you. You're probably sleeping or getting ready for work or something like that. I should be. You're probably not. But hopefully you got something out of this, as usual. It's nice to learn from each other. Nice T-Weight, by the way, seeing that you've got some feedback, and hopefully you do enjoy your first session. Keep on binge watching. You always have something new to learn, and hopefully all of you have learned something from this stream. We all learn from each other, so hopefully you enjoyed this stream and our company. This is NUSensei, and I'll see you all next time.